Agents often describe a quiet moment right before a listing goes live. The photos are delivered, the video is finished, and the remarks are written. Everything looks fine, and still, there's usually a pause. Not because something is wrong, but because this is the first real signal a seller sees of how the listing will be positioned once it's live. Listings don't lose trust because of one big mistake. They lose it because small signals stack up quietly, and by the time anyone can point to a problem, confidence is already shifted. Across hundreds of listings, I see the same pattern repeat. As long as the media is professional, agents are told they're covered. Clean photos, a walkthrough video, accurate details. Most listings technically check every box. And still, some launches feel solid while others feel fragile. That's usually when people start fixing the wrong thing. Showings begin, feedback comes in, but it's vague. Nice home, good layout, we're still thinking. Nothing sounds negative, but nothing feels decisive. And sellers tend to sense that hesitation long before anyone says it out loud. When that happens, agents start running through the usual explanations. Is it price? Is it timing? Or is it just buyer hesitation? Those explanations feel reasonable, but they don't actually explain what buyers are reacting to. What's happening earlier than most people realize is this. Buyers aren't evaluating listings logically first. They're responding to signals. And sellers feel those signals through buyer behavior even if they can't name them. Every property deserves the right positioning. A downtown condo shouldn't be marketed like a country estate, not because of who buys it, but because of what it is. The value proposition is different. The consideration process is different. The media should reflect that. The same listing can feel intentional to one buyer and unsettled to another without a single factual detail changing. This is where media starts doing work most agents never get to see. Pacing matters. Fast cuts signal urgency and turnover. Slower pacing signals stability and intention. Neither approach is inherently wrong, but they attract very different expectations. Most people assume buyers decide after they understand a listing. In reality, buyers decide how they feel first, understanding comes later. That shows up in small ways. Blurry previews, over-edited visuals, inconsistent tone, generic descriptions. None of these ruin a listing on their own, but together they send mixed signals. And even though sellers never see this process happening, they feel it almost immediately through buyer behavior. There's a belief that causes more quiet trouble than almost anything else. As long as it's professional, it won't hurt me. Professional is baseline. Signals determine trust. When those signals don't align, things don't fall apart overnight. They just get heavier. Explaining takes longer, reassurance becomes constant, and every conversation carries more weight. Nothing has gone wrong yet, and that's exactly why it's so hard to catch. What gets lost in that moment isn't time or price, it's control. Once confidence starts to wobble, agents find themselves reacting instead of leading. Not because they did anything wrong, but because no one ever showed them what to watch for. Here's what misalignment actually causes. The listing that should close in 30 days takes 67. The price that was defendable at launch needs 2 reductions. And the seller who should be your best referral source goes quiet after closing. Not because the home wasn't great, not because you didn't work hard, but because the signals never lined up from the beginning. That's the invisible tax most agents pay without knowing it. See, this was never about better media, it was about better alignment. Alignment between buyer expectations, seller's confidence, and signals a listing send from the very beginning. When those signals are intentional, the right positioning attracts genuine interest, not certain people, but the right level of consideration for that property type. Sellers feel steadier and conversations get easier. Not louder, not flashier, just clearer. When a listing feels off before your launch and you can't explain why, this is usually where the answer lives. And that brings us back to that same pre-launch moment. Same pressure, same responsibility, but this time there's certainty. Not because everything is perfect, but because the signals are aligned. That's what good listing media is actually doing. Most agents never learn to spot this. Not because they're not paying attention, but because no one's ever shown them what to watch for. So here's what to look for before you hit publish. 3 signals, that's all it takes. Signal 1, pacing. Does the video match the property's market position? Fast cuts work when you're positioning for competitive urgency. Slower pacing works when a property deserves consideration and time. Neither is wrong, but misalignment causes momentum. A downtown condo in a hot market shouldn't move like a waterfront estate, and a luxury property shouldn't feel rushed. Match the pacing to what the property deserves, not to what's trending. Signal 2. Visual tone. Do the photos, the video, and the description feel like they're from the same listing? Or does one say luxury while the other says speed? Mixed signals don't fail loudly. They just make buyers pause for a second longer than they should. Visual consistency isn't about perfection, it's about coherence. When every element supports the same positioning, trust builds quietly. When they contradict each other, confidence wobbles. Signal 3. Clarity of position. Can someone tell in the first 3 seconds what this property is about? Not through words, through what they feel. Is it a family home, an investment opportunity, or a luxury retreat? The media should answer that question before the buyer even thinks to ask it. When those three align, something shifts. Sellers stop second guessing, buyers engage with less friction, and the listing does the work you needed it to do from day one. It's about knowing which signals you're sending and whether they're pulling in the same direction. Because alignment is what separates a listing that lands from one that lingers. So before your next listing goes live, try this. Pull up the video, watch the first 10 seconds with the sound off, then ask, what does this feel like? Urgency or consideration? Volume or exclusivity? If the feeling doesn't match what the property deserves, you've just spotted what most agents never see. And that's where we start.